Hello, welcome to the Holistic Healer Podcast, a podcast dedicated to all things holistic. I am your host, Cheryl Lee. Today's guest, Shane Sterling, whose platform, Raw Vegan Rising, has helped thousands of people through detoxification, juicing, motivation, and integrating the hero's journey. Today we sit down to talk about food, consciousness, and mindset. This is part 1 of 2. Stay tuned next month where we focus on building strength, stamina, macronutrients for building muscle, supplementation, and so much more. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Holistic Healer Podcast. I'm your host, Cheryl Lee. And today I have on Shane Sterling. Super excited. You have the platform Raw Vegan Rising. As far as I can see, you are a detox specialist. You're a motivational speaker, that's for sure. And you help people on their journey to becoming raw food dominant, but also you're in the space performance as well. So I've heard you speak a lot about, people who are looking to go down the raw food lifestyle, but also incorporating resistance training and being able to put some muscle on their body and that type of thing, which is kind of your interest as well, as far as I can see. So welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, Shirley. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I hope that this talk today inspires somebody, reaches somebody, and that it helps them. That's my goal and my intention with our talk today.
Me too. Amazing. So let's just get right into it. Maybe just do like a real quick for my audience, kind of your journey to get you to this present moment right now as a raw vegan who is into the bodybuilding world and who's kind of done a complete recomposition on your body and detoxed and all of that good stuff.
Well, people often ask me, why am I raw vegan, or why or how did I go raw vegan? What led me to this path? Why I'm inspired to be a fully raw vegan? And the answer is simple. It's just freedom from suffering. There's a lot of suffering on this planet, and I don't want to be part of it. I don't like it. If anything, I'm here to help with the suffering, alleviate the suffering. And there's a very simple truth to suffering is that we either align with natural law or we don't align with natural law. The further out of alignment we get, the more suffering there is. The more in alignment we get, the less suffering there is. It's just aligning with how the universe works. Whether we realize it or not, we're always in some sort of balance or harmony with natural law. So my goal is actually to be a student of natural law and the universal kind of principles of spiritual alignment to make our lives better, but to really alleviate suffering, not only for myself, but for all of humanity and all of the precious animals that we share this planet with, who are so innocent and vulnerable. And yet, humans are a little bit like a bull in a tulip patch. We come and stomp through.
For sure.
We don't have very much elegance to our style and our persona in general. And so I that's a part of our culture and the way humans work that I don't like so much. And so I decided at a young age, when I was 17, and I'm 50 now, I decided at 17 I was going to do something about it. So I went vegan at that time, vegan for the animals, ethical vegan, all the way. Ethical vegan, could have cared less about health. And over years of being vegan and failing and eating animal products and then back to vegan and back to animal products, back to vegan, it slowly has come clear to me that there's just no other path than whole, raw, undenatured food aligning with Mother Nature as intended for our body. So then the goal for me becomes not just a vegan diet, but how to master a vegan diet. That's what led me to raw food. Mastery, self-mastery, spiritual mastery, mastery of this domain in every single way. And that doesn't include just diet. That includes physical fitness and making money or being successful, business, whatever you want to call it. And also my relationships in my life with my family, friends, circle of influence, colleagues, and then also my service work, how I pay it forward and how I create the building blocks and a ladder for the future to grow upon so we can actually alleviate the suffering on this planet as much as possible. So I'm kind of like a self-appointed missionary to improve, awaken, and help humanity evolve and awaken to a new paradigm the next best version of ourselves, what's possible for ourselves. I'm not
Mhm.
interested in the status quo. I'm not interested in the mainstream. I could care less. I've never been interested in the mainstream. I like doing things different. I like standing up and speaking for the truth, regardless of how brutally honest that is.
Right.
So that's kind of who I am now, is that I support people through my group coaching program, which is very supportive system for people to
Right.
actually educate themselves on the raw vegan path. And I have thousands of clients who come through my
Mhm.
program. And then I also speak on my platforms. I'm Raw Vegan Rising on Instagram and YouTube
Mhm.
and Facebook and TikTok and all of them. And that's where I share my message, motivation, inspiration around the diet, the lifestyle, the fitness, the leadership, the mindset to be an absolute badass in your life in every single way. So,
I like
just the
that.
last thing I'll say is, for me, it's not so much about whether vegan is healthy. That is a very past conversation. I'm on to the next conversation, which is how do we thrive on purely raw living foods only?
Right.
That's the only question for me. And that's what I educate on and teach on.
Hmm. Yeah, totally. That's amazing. So, just kind of speaking a little bit on the consciousness piece, like I have found over the years that the awareness and the consciousness that comes in as you are either transitioning or once you start implementing more raw foods, and then of course talking about things like doing like a juice cleanse and really getting into those deeper layers, that it's almost an organic process that happens, that some of those emotions, those old woundings will just organically come to the surface. And of course, the physical side of detoxing is hard in and of itself because we're dealing with addictions and all these types of things. But what's your experience with people dealing with all of the emotions that surface up and pushing through that? Like how transformative that can be in the healing process? Because I think oftentimes it's overlooked in the space. We just think, oh, it's raw food, where it's a physical thing, but it's actually much deeper than that.
Yes, indeed, it is. It's
Mhm.
really a personal leadership problem. And
Mhm.
leadership requires vision if we're going to be extremely successful at whatever we do,
Right.
including being healthy, transitioning to a vegan diet, transitioning to a raw vegan diet, whatever level of health we're at, it requires vision. We've got to have a reason bigger than ourselves to do it, or we are not going to do it. The mainstream
Right.
will come in and hijack our mind and
Mhm.
hijack our efforts and our activities. So it will say, you've got to do this, go along with the status quo, go along with what everybody else does. Oh, why bother being different? So if we're not hooked into a vision bigger than ourselves, and a vision bigger than ourselves has to extend past our family, past
Mhm.
our own personal life and our own growth and thriving, into some sort of vision beyond our own lifetime, generations
Right.
ahead. We have to have something bigger than our own life and our own family that's going to motivate us. Health doesn't motivate someone to get healthy. It never has. If health,
Mhm.
everyone wants to be healthy, but nobody is. Why is that?
Right.
Because they're not hooked into a vision bigger than themselves. And people might have food addictions, emotional addictions. They might play small in their life. They might not start that business they always dreamed of, or
Mhm.
find that love relationship they always dreamed of, or move into that big house they always felt like they should deserve. Why is
Right.
that? That's a leadership problem within our own mind. Leadership is
Mhm.
simply just saying, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Nobody's
Mhm.
going to come save me. Nobody's here to listen to me whine and moan about my problems. I've
Yeah.
got to get up off the couch and I've got to figure out how to make a huge difference in the world. And that
Right.
requires a vision and a motivation, a big why. So, capital W, capital H, capital why. You've got
Mhm.
to journal that. You've got to come up with a life mission and purpose for yourself that motivates you and enrolls you in who you get to be.
Right.
So, if you understand the skill of how to enroll yourself in who you get to be, you can apply that to every single aspect of your life. And that's why I always say how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you
Right.
understand how to be successful in starting a business, you can apply that to be successful in raw vegan and vice versa. If you are a successful raw vegan and you absolutely dominate it, you master it, you can apply that to starting your dream business or having your dream love relationship or living in your dream house. It's all connected.
Mhm.
It's all the same. It's an illusion in our mind. The only thing that's
Mhm.
truly real is the value we bring from within ourselves. And everything
Right.
else just will organize around that value. If we truly tap into the value that we have within ourselves to be worthy of thriving, worthy of making a difference for generations to come, worthy of being a voice in the awakening of humanity, if we feel that worthiness, that's when we will be able to absolutely be successful in everything we do and tap into our real leadership skills and enroll ourselves in the vision of who we get to be. That's it.
Right. Yeah, great. I heard you speak on another podcast about when you were, I don't know, maybe you were in your 20s or something, and you were saying that that energy of kind of wanting the convincing, or that, you would, an argument might ensue at the dinner table over or raw vegan with the signs. And so I think now, like moving now, like you, into my 50s, I see that everyone's journey is their own, and that we're really just responsible for our own journey, our own sovereign journey. And what you've spoken about, the hero's journey, which is for us, it's for us to define as individuals, and all we can do is be kind of the guiding light to help others. So I'm just assuming that what you just said, it's just kind of reiterating that hero's journey notion of that we are on our own journey. And I love what you say, that it's really about mastery and self mastery, going down this raw vegan lifestyle, because it's not easy. It's not easy in this society to make the decision to be a raw vegan, especially when you have children and you have family and all of these kinds of things. So how do you stand right now, the notion that detoxification is more important than nutrition in this day and age?
Yeah, detoxification allows the body to be receptive to the next step. So it is a
Right.
journey. Thriving on lighter foods, higher vibrational foods, and living foods requires kind of the stepping stones out of lower density foods, cooked foods, and animal products. So that's a process. And that process could take years to decades, depending on who we are and our
Mhm.
commitment level, our big why, and our own leadership skills around transformation.
Right.
But I always say to people, if we can just focus on detoxification, we'll get there quicker. A lot of people might say, but I don't feel full or satisfied on raw food. That is a detoxification issue. The gut needs to be detoxed, the microbes need to be transitioned. We really actually need to master the transition to
Right.
higher vibrational living foods. And that transition requires extensive bowel detoxification to remove biofilm and plaque and accumulated waste, transitioning the microbes, alleviating the pressure in the interstitial fluids and the cells and the acids that have built up in the body, because all of these accumulated toxins will keep us in a certain status quo. The body becomes comfortable at a certain level of health,
Right.
and transitioning out of that level of health to a higher level of health requires a transition. The detoxification is the vehicle, the method of how we transition. But a lot of people think it's about the food you eat, and it's actually about mastering the transition. How are you going to transition your body and your gut microbiome to thrive on raw living foods? Well, that process will be through multiple sources, through eating raw vegan over a consistent period of time, or detoxing the gut through juice fasting or water fasting, or mono fruit cleanses, or whatever it is. Cleansing and detoxification elevates us. It resets the neural associations with where real life force comes from. And then instead of thinking that life force comes from like a burger and fries, we start to
Yeah.
realize that life force is in the living cells of all living plant
Right.
matter, so that we get real true life force comes from the sun and the electrical activity and the living enzymes that fuel every metabolic process in the body. So it's not about the food so much, it's more about detoxification, elevating the actual physical matrix of our body to a higher level.
Right. So I just had a few weeks ago, I interviewed Professor Spira, and he, talks about the mucus diet healing system, and how really the foundation of that is all about transition. So, but using maybe perhaps some cooked foods along the way to transition into a raw food lifestyle. So Are you in alignment with that kind of Arnold Ehret's transition and the protocols that go along with that?
Oh, yes. Perfection is really a disordered thinking.
Mhm.
Perfectionism is actually low self-esteem. We do not want to align with perfectionism.
Right.
Perfectionism doesn't help us master our life, master our leadership, master transition. Perfectionism is saying, well, I can't achieve perfection, therefore I might as well not try. That's what most
Right.
people. So, what we really want to do instead is say yes to the calling, the subtle whisper in the back of our mind that has that feeling that our heart is being called to something better, a better
Right.
version of ourself, an awakening to something that supports our well being at a higher level. If you have the call to go
Mhm.
raw, then you just need to say yes to the journey. And this is where it is really in alignment with the hero's journey. The mythology of the hero is that we must face our fears to
Mhm.
excel, elevate, awaken to the next best version of ourselves. Through
Right.
facing our fears, we learn the method, we learn the tools, we learn what's correct for us. Because, yes, biologically, we're all going to be the same. We all are blood, cells, and lymph, and we all thrive on the right diet for our species
Right.
specific diet. But in the psychological journey, we all might have a different path, and we might become a superhero or a master teacher or a guru in different ways on our journey of self mastery. So we don't want to
Right.
try to have some perfect vision of what that's going to be like. We need to
Right.
go through the death and rebirth of the
Mhm.
identity, and that is the hero's journey. So when we say yes to the hero's journey, often a mentor will appear. And in all the great mythology of the hero's journey, there's someone to usher us across that threshold of resistance, because the hero feels reluctant, flawed, unworthy,
Mhm.
unready, and completely unwilling. And so the hero never accepts the calling. There's some sort of almost supernatural a guide or guidance that
Mhm.
happens. That can be a mentor, someone you resonate with. That's what I do in my Raw Vegan Heroes membership community group
Mhm.
coaching program, is I offer that kind of mentorship for people who have
Right.
the calling to usher them across that resistance threshold.
Mhm.
When we say yes, though, then we embark on an unknown journey, leaving the comfort of our known world to the discomfort of an unknown world, into
Mhm.
the darkness facing our deepest fears. And in that process, we die. A part of ourself dies, the old part. So the part of you that holds on to cooked food, eating disorders, low self-esteem, any kind of playing small, holding back, people pleasing, perfectionism, all of that is going to die off as
Yeah.
we face the fear. And through facing the fear, we find the gifts, the nuggets that the universe has for us. It's in our traumas, it's in our resistance, it's in the letting go. When we let go fully, we get the gift of what our path is. That's going to be
Right.
different for everybody. And so then it's about integration and bringing that back home to ourselves to create a whole new elevated sense of normal where we can share that with the world. And that's the Raw Vegan Hero. I outline in my Raw Vegan Heroes membership the Raw Vegan Heroes success path. And that's
Mhm.
going from a guilty non vegan to a raw vegan hero, and the
Right.
process and emotional transformation to become a raw vegan hero in your life. And how I outline the step of the raw vegan hero, which is the ultimate fulfillment of our own hero's journey, is
Mhm.
bringing your gifts to your life's legacy. This is living into your vision bigger
Mhm.
than yourself and fulfilling your true purpose on earth. And
Yeah.
that is going to include raw living foods, because as long as we are eating low vibrational cooked foods, especially animal products, we are in a matrix of mind control. And the low vibrational foods keep us from seeing and perceiving our higher purpose and destiny correctly. It's almost like a veil or a
Right.
shroud. It keeps us locked in a comfort zone of fear and low self worth. And it's only through this hero's journey of letting go of the old self and letting it die off that we
Mhm.
find that courage to live into our legacy and be the leader of a higher sense of purpose for our life. That's a
Mhm.
miraculous thing to accomplish. And it's not
Correct.
complicated. It just is the hero's journey and the process of saying yes. So I always encourage people, you don't have to know what to do, how to do it. You don't have to do it right. There's no one on this earth that says you have to do it right. It's
Mhm.
only saying yes. Say yes to the journey, say yes to the calling, say yes to the little stamp, the imprint, the whisper in your heart calling you to a higher vibrational way of being. That will lead you down the path that only you can live. And through that,
Right.
you'll find your gifts, you'll find your vision, you'll find your purpose, you'll find your legacy, and the true
Mhm.
fulfillment you have to offer on this planet.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I think again that ties into like the mentorship piece of being so important for people who are embarking on that journey because like I said, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that comes up. And if you don't have the knowledge or the awareness or the tools to be able to handle those things, I think that's where a lot of people just kind of abandon ship. And it's so important to have a mentor to be able to guide you and to let you know you're on the right path. This is okay. I interviewed Troy Casey, and one of his pillars in his book is legacy and the importance of having a legacy as being actually the most important pillar. And I just couldn't agree with that more. You know, what are you creating? What are you creating in your life for yourself, for your family, and everything else that goes along with that? So, do you feel then, when it comes to consciousness, that if we are making choices, and we all have the choice to eat whatever we want, but if we're making the choice, for example, to eat animal products, the level of consciousness that we can actually obtain is going to be somewhat, let's see, it's just going to be a little blurry, for lack of a better word. Would you be in alignment with that?
There's no question in my
Uh-huh.
perspective, but everyone is called to a different level
Right.
of
Yep.
experience on this
Mhm.
planet. Not everyone's called to the level of personal excellence that I strive to achieve in my lifetime. I've been on this mission for what I feel kind of spans multiple lifetimes. I came into this world with a thread that connects me to leaving animals out of the equation of diet. I was born with it, and it took me to be a kid. Once I started to kind of wake up in my teen years, I started to remember my full commitment to this level. But not everybody has that. So, yes, we're going to experience great, profound awakening experiences, including animal products in our diet if we follow the right paths of discipline and leadership. But there is a matrix of fear survival with animal products that is just real, that will keep us locked into a paradigm of
Right.
survival that we cannot get out of any other way. By avoiding animal
Mhm.
products, we actually free ourselves from the matrix of the fear survival that has been part of our ancestral experience. Now, everybody says we
Right.
should eat like our ancestors, but I say the opposite. We need to actually evolve past our ancestors. And as long as we adopt the trauma of our ancestors, we will continue to stay traumatized. Eating
Mm.
animal products
Yeah.
is a trauma response out of fear, out of survival, out of living in environments, conditions, and areas where we have to kill to survive. And killing to survive is not a higher vibrational way of living. We
Right.
simply don't need to, for one. And we can see hints of this in all spiritual teachings throughout all history, in every spiritual text that's ever been written, that we should not kill. And when we
Mhm.
can actually experience a life where we do not kill, it elevates our perception, our connection, our awareness. So I
Right.
will absolutely say, hands down, in my lifetime, my experience, what I believe to be truth based on my personal experience and my studies and my intuition, is
Mhm.
that animal products are just a crutch and holding us back. And it will only be left behind as we evolve as a species. Animal products are not going to be part of our future of mankind. It's just not possible, because
Yes.
we will live on higher vibrational foods. If anything, we'll develop technologies to live on fresh juices and enzymes and stuff. We won't even need to eat such dense foods. I mean, fast
Mhm.
food, animal products, factory farming, this is all extreme trauma response that is rooted
Right.
in a level of self-deprecating fear and trauma that just is not part of a better way of life at all. And this is actually my personal mission and purpose on earth, is to shed light on this and say, as much as a lot of the guru people out there say we got to eat healthy meat to be healthy, it's just absolutely not true. It's absolutely not true. It will hold us back from what we can really achieve on our hero's journey. And that's part of facing the fear of the hero's journey. If we are afraid of who we will be without meat and dairy and eggs, then unless we experience that death and rebirth of the self through that threshold of fear, we're never going to experience it. And we have no idea what's on the other side. And I've done both. I've eaten animal products, I've eaten meat, and I've eaten vegan cooked, and I've eaten vegan raw, and I've experienced and experimented with all the thresholds of fear. And me, on my personal journey, I refuse to let fear dominate what I do and how I think. And I refuse to let the fear of killing and using death and killing as a survival strategy to influence my thoughts of what's possible for me. I refuse, because it's just not a vibration that I resonate with and want to be part of. That means I will be vegan, strictly no animal products for the rest of my life, no matter what it means. I will not participate with it.
Yeah, I love that. And that just, I mean, that kind of ties into what I was going to ask about the ancestral trauma piece and how that's also connected to like redefining what that is. And yes, of course, if we're going to be living in our ancestry, then we're really not stepping into the new and evolving past that. It's just, so that makes total sense to me. That's amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to kind of wrap it up here. And I would really love to do a part two, because I really had like a whole section on, like, I'm like you, I'm really into resistance training. I have a background in powerlifting, and I'm, kind of in the same age group. And there's a lot of questions in and around that for people in kind of the 35, 40 plus group, which there are more and more coming into this space, which is amazing. And I think there's a lot of confusion, especially on the internet. I mean, people, like we just talked about, I mean, just for example, the carnivore movement is a massive movement on the internet, and people get super confused, right? So I just think it's so important to bring, that's part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast, is because I want to bring awareness that, these things are possible. In fact, they're more than possible. And with the right coaching and with the right mentorship, it just makes things, of course, there's going to be an element. That's the whole thing we talked about, the hero's journey. It's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. But when you get to the other side, it's just, there's this feeling of just reclaiming your life, and it's amazing. So why don't you just tell everybody again, where can people find you for, I'm assuming you do like one-on-one coaching, group coaching, that type of thing.
Yeah, thanks, Shirley. Well, let's make it a date. We will do a part two, and we will talk about the absolute importance of raw vegan protein sources, how to build muscle, and how to absolutely be the highest in the highest health for yourself as a raw vegan or as a vegan, and literally dispelling the myths that we need animal protein to be healthy or build muscle. Let's do that video for sure, because that's an important one, and I love talking about it, and I'm a living example. If someone is interested to learn more or follow me, social media, Instagram, Raw Vegan Rising, I have a group coaching program called Raw Vegan Heroes, which helps people say yes to their hero's journey. We have over 2,000 members in my group coaching program. They get instant downloads for how to detox the body and cleanse out the waste inside of the bowels. And then also we have a support group to help us through every stage of fear and questions and unknowing. And this is how we do it, is we do it together as a community. So I am focused on building a community to support people at the highest level of accountability. We don't need knowledge when we have accountability, because we can see others doing it in real time and we can emulate their actions. We can learn from what others are doing. So in my group program, Raw Vegan Heroes, for instance, every single day people are sharing updates, meal ideas, recipes, what they're doing that works, what they're doing that doesn't work. And we can learn from each other. I don't claim to be the expert. I know the power is in the community. So let's pool all of thousands of raw vegans from around the world thousands of aspiring
Yeah.
vegans and raw vegans from around the world and learn from each other so we can take this thing to the next level. And this is an awakening journey. This is a movement bigger than me. This is a movement bigger than all of us. The Raw Vegan Heroes movement is definitely for you if you have the calling in your heart. And you can find that information in the description box of every video I do on YouTube and Instagram, but also on my website, rawveganrising.com, under the membership tab at the top. Membership, Raw Vegan Heroes, community building. It's going to take us to the next level through the power of learning from each other. So that's what I do. That's how I support each other. And it's my absolute pleasure to create the culture of healing and excellence without animal products and without cooked foods in our lives.
Yeah. And what I really love about you is that you embody both. You embody both the physical and you embody the emotional, spiritual side, which, like I said at the beginning, a lot of times we kind of go down, we might pigeonhole ourselves into, this is the diet, but it is the diet, but it's so much more than just the diet. And I just feel like you really embody both of those. So I love that. Yeah. It's amazing.
Thanks
so yeah,
so much.
of
Yeah,
course,
thanks, Shirley.
set up a part 2, and we'll dedicate that to the whole weightlifting, building muscle, protein requirements, macronutrients, all of that kind of stuff. And we'll make that into a part 2. It's amazing.
Yeah, excellent. Looking forward to it. I'll see you in the next one, Shirley. Have a great day.
Okay. You too. Bye, Shane. Thank you.
Bye-bye.